But the O2 game was overshadowed by a certain incident in a hotel in Derry, which we're going to which we're going to talk a little bit about. So, Frankie, you have the floor now. We have to get to the bottom of this.
Jesus Christ.
So, I have to be honest, when I saw this on the paper at the time, I went, holy shit, were they playing pool with their flutes or what were they doing? So
well, one individual could have.
Self-praise is no praise, Frank. Welcome to the GAA Hour live in Roscommon. I heard you were a little bit passionate, all right, up around here, but I had to see it to believe it. So we've two great panels on tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the rivalry between Galway and Roscommon. And I'm sorry now, we're in Rossyland, but I'm not sure there was much of a rivalry because Galway didn't take you too seriously, according to Cha Fallon. But no, I did a bit of research, and it's true, there's not a huge rivalry between Galway and Roscommon. You're just both united in your hatred of Mayo, is that right? All right, so we have two great panels for you, right? The first two on panel one are these two lovebirds. You know all about them. Frankie resisted at first and then kind of got into it a little bit. And joined with them as Galway legend, we all know him, he retired at 32, probably a little bit too soon, is Ja Fallon. Now, Ja Fallon, you can give him a round of applause. Most players, when they finish up playing, they don't really know what to do with themselves. The retirement is tricky. You play a bit of five-a-side, you might go down to junior, play a bit of intermediate, whatever it is. Not Ja Fallon. Ja got into a bit of bare-knuckle boxing. Okay, and on panel two we have Sean Armstrong and Shawnee McDermott, two fellas who know each other very well, so we'll get to the bottom of that little rivalry there. And we have a late sub in for Tomás O'Shea. So we said, listen, there's enough O'Sheas. We'll pick the O'Shea that won Player of the Year, the only one. So we have Mark O'Shea instead of Tomás. Okay. All right. Before we get going, a lot of the analysis around Gaelic football is around goalkeepers now. Stephen Cluxton changed the game. Now we have goalkeepers kicking scores from play. We have them taking 1-2s from kickouts. We have Graham Brodie running up the field. They're athletes. They're not just in the goals doing feck all like back in my day. They're actually fit athletes like the rest of the team. But obviously, it wasn't always like that.
Shelly Shane, well, Shane will mark the rover, Jet to Traggle, Pod the Pork, that which I can't again. What I got to piece of art. And Shane. As it's about their hot Shelly with me on toe. Oh. Let you go, Shane.
All right, give it up for our first panel. Kay Curran, Ja Fallon and Frankie Dolan. Kay, Frankie tells me you were walking around after that match, not a bother on you. Your calf miraculously healed.
Funny enough, our physio, Pat Regan, is down there, and I owe him a depth of gratitude. I still have the legs on, but yeah, the house did come tumbling down.
Come here, I want to talk to you about the rivalry, lads, because, well, Ja, you're from Tuam, so, you're close enough to Roscommon for there to be a rivalry, and it's hard to get to the bottom of this rivalry. I do believe you both hate Mayo more than you hate each other. I do think that, maybe from 2001 to 2003, you played each other 4 times in the championship. Was it getting a little bit of a rivalry building then, Ja?
Going back to the early years that I played, it was mainly Mayo, but I suppose looking back, and it's a long time now, it's 20 years, from 98 to 2002, we did play an awful lot. In fairness, and the Rossies every time put it up to us. And to be honest, probably was the stepping stone for us in 98 to what we achieved, because there's no doubt we found out where we are as a team and it brought us on, because we had an awful lot of young lads at the time. I think we had 6 debutants in 98. and they just blossomed from that experience because our backs were to the wall, and it was a bit of luck with a first shoot, this goal in extra time that was the difference between the two teams.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. In '98, you weren't around there, Frankie. I think you were just blossoming. You were a young minor at that stage. So, like, I mean, 01 was the big one where you shocked the world. Remember that game on television? Shamie O'Neill in midfield, cleaning up. You got 1-2 yourself, didn't do too bad. But nobody expected you to win that one.
No, and I remember that day, there was such a small Roscommon crowd down there that no one gave us a hope. You know, I remember Toby on the television on the 6-1 News the night before, he was saying we'd be lucky to have 15 players togged out that day. Now, whether that got into the psyche of the Galway players, but it was brilliant, you know what I mean? And we went down, there was no pressure on, and we had a game plan, just get the ball into myself, Nigel and Junior, and it says we look after the rest, you know, and it was a brilliant victory, you know, and Galway had such a brilliant team at the time, brilliant individual players, and I suppose one player we sort of signalled out just before the game was Michael Dolan. We said, lads, Michael Dolan gets the ball, you just got to hit him. Just foul him, belt him, do whatever you want, you know, and thankfully it worked, but a couple of months after, it didn't work in the quarter-final down in Castlebar.
Yeah, you got shafted by drawing them again later on that year. But John Tobin is the right one, Cake. Like, I mean, he had an inside bit of knowledge. So he was filling you in right on Jaff Allen, his strengths, weaknesses, love for a bit of bare-knuckle boxing, stuff like that.
Yeah, we had the Ballyforden Express too at the time. I think it was Francie Graham, and I think Francie and Jad locked swords a couple of times, and Porrick. And I think Toby, I mean, my abiding memory of it at the time was Toby kind of knew the weaknesses. I think Porrick Lally started in goal. I think it was his first game ever. And like as a goalkeeper coming into a Connacht semi-final, he just wanted to lure the ball in on top of the full back line, test the goalkeeper, and big Nigel and Frankie feeding off him. And it was a great win down there. And obviously we went on to beat Mayo then in the Connacht final. But the catalyst for it was winning over in Tuam, because it gave everybody a great boost of confidence, you know. And Toby was happy as well, I suppose, going around with the greyhounds on him under around Tuam and Jeff following him. They were happy enough to bet on a few horses or whatever it was. So, look, yeah, it was great. But, going back to the rivalry, I think, I don't know what it is for most Roscommon people, but it would be mostly Mayo as opposed to Galway, you know. So, winning down in Castlebar a couple of weeks ago was a huge.
That was like an All-Ireland title, like not in a bad way, in a good way.
No, in a great way, and it was a great victory for the lads. And I think the last time we've won a Connacht title really that you could say, you know, you beat Mayo and Galway was 2001. So we have that opportunity in Salthill on Sunday, and you know, hopefully the lads can take up the baton and do that. Yeah,
the lads mentioned Francie Grehan, Jas. So you used to be boxed off on him, like to get forward a bit. What's your memories of Mark and Francie now? He was man of the match in the first game in 2001, if I have to remind you.
I must say, in fairness to Francie, he was probably the most cleverest fella I ever marked. Because he'd put lumps out of you, and if you laid one finger on him, he was rolling around holding his head.
He was before his time.
Before his time.
John Dively is on record for saying, I experienced concussion 3 times throughout my sporting days, twice playing against Roscommon in the Connacht Championship. The reason, the Rossies knew how to hurt you, quietly and decisively.
I think that's just John acknowledging he's stupid, you know. We never really, because Divo was from Danamati there and Kilkerran, like, you know, and he'd be playing soccer against a lot of the lads as well, you know. So they knew him, and Francie knew his weaknesses as well. And I think probably, you know, Divo was a different sort of a fella, wasn't he? He was kind of tight. And
Wasn't really a marker, was he?
Wasn't really a marker.
Dively.
He was actually out before his time, you know, because he was a wing back that never marked, you know.
Yeah.
But he was a good player, to be fair to him.
So he's not here to defend himself.
No,
he was a great man to deliver a long ball into the forwards, though, Jack. Give him his shoe.
Yeah, good player.
So it was the whole game plan around going out and bursting Galway like John Dively thinks it was, or was there a bit more sophisticated than that, Frank?
I don't think so, Wooly. Like as the lad said, there wasn't really a rivalry there, but we were confident going in. We'd a full deck to pick from, and we'd I suppose a young Shamie O'Neill that the Galway boys probably never heard about, and he was going in midfield. I think it was his debut, and he had Fergal O'Donnell with him, so he had a really good player with him as well. And just Shamie just set the world alight that year. You remember he caught a ball behind his head, one-handed catch. It was incredible. And like we had a game plan, we knew what we were about. Listen, we got lucky at times. Galway could have got a couple of goals. Was it in the first half? They got a couple of breaks, and it's a good job. Derry Thompson was in goal that day, you know. It's probably a good job you got sent off in the New York game.
What was this, Cake? You got sent. A little birdie told me, Frankie, that you got sent off.
Frankie's from the birdies.
No, a little birdie did tell me you got sent off against New York. What was that for?
I can't really remember rightly. There's one of those left hooks that was hit on the right hand side of the, and we got a point on the side, and the referee comes back and he sends me off. But and look, to be fair, Derry took his play, took his chance and got in and played very well. To be fair, for the season, and look, we won the Connacht Championship. It was great.
But that must have been on a personal level, because obviously back then it's not like it was a squad game. If you're not on the, it was all about being on the starting 15 back then.
Well, for a goalkeeper, it's all about being
It's
on the
all,
starting
it still
15.
is, yeah.
Well, still, whether know, no matter who it is. Yeah, it was, and look at it. But you batten down the hatches and you keep going with the team and try and keep everyone pushed on. And look at it, that's how we did. And Fergal was captain, I think, as well that year. He was very good as well. And very good with Shamey, very good with the young fellas, and brought them on. And Toby, to be fair, he was tactically very good as well, because he could identify weaknesses in teams, particularly in Connacht. He knew the insides and he knew the outsides, and he gave the players great confidence as well. So and I think that's the difference in having a good manager. And he was a great actually, maybe manager, maybe not the best, but certainly he was a great coach, brilliant coach, and a very good tactician.
Yeah. So what were the weaknesses he was pointing out about Galway? Cake mentioned the new goalkeeper. There wasn't too many weaknesses on it, Frankie.
On the Galway team?
Yeah.
The full back line. You had Gary, Richie Fahy, you had Tomas Mannion. Out front, I don't know, you had Divo, Decky Meehan,
Kieran Fitzgerald would have been the corner.
Kieran Fitzgerald,
he was retired, wasn't he?
I don't know, there's not too many weaknesses in that that back line,
I think he particularly went after Park Lally. I think he said, look, let the ball in high, and I think Nigel got a goal very early as well, and that kind of, when somebody gives you a message and the message then resonates and then something happens and you come from a training pitch to a performance and then it happens, he was right. It just gives everybody confidence, and Nigel and Frankie were outstanding on the day as well with Junior, and I think Conor Kennelly had a great game as well, wing back. But and like the rivalry though, I think back into '98, you were lucky really to beat us in Tuam.
Oh, we were.
Or to draw in Tuam. He paid the referee, your man Pryor. From
Conor
he hated Roscommon, absolutely, with passion for some reason, and he gave. Yeah, you give him a few quid, right?
Yeah.
What do you call it? Kick the equaliser. Finnegan's kicked the equaliser, and we obviously we didn't win the replay, but Galway went on to win the All Ireland. It's actually like if he beat Roscommon, he nearly win an All Ireland. In 2001 as well, they done the same. It happened twice.
So
the first year of the back door, and 2001 was different for many reasons because it was the first year of the back door.
Yeah.
Had we won that game, we would actually have been playing, I think, if memory serves me correct, Tyrone
won Ulster,
won Ulster in 2001. So that would have been an All-Ireland semi-final proper. So you were playing a Northern team. The Connacht teams hadn't lost in over 25 years in semi-finals to get to an All-Ireland final.
There's always a hard luck story, isn't there?
And that's the facts of it. So
what could have been? What were you thinking coming off the field, Jack? Because this is the first time you'd have lost and you're not actually out of the championship. So there's a big pitch invasion. We know what the Rossies are like. So I'm sure there was a big pitch invasion. But you're thinking walking off the field, we'll see these lads maybe again, or are you just thinking we've lost?
No, looking back now, to be honest, and it just dawns on me, because I remember at the time thinking when John Tobin was over Roscommon, first the huge quality Toby brings, he instilled confidence, and he gets guys who will do anything for him, and they'll buy into it, and he's an absolute huge motivator. He had a huge success at club level, and he was in Galway, he had experience, he was over in Galway, and I went in the early 90s. So you just knew that. And in fairness, on the day, it's amazing we differ. Frankie said there was a small Roscommon crowd. As far as I remember, the place was packed to the rafters, 35,000 in Tuam. And in fairness, as you know, championship games are built on momentum and built on highs, in the sense of, all I remember, Seamus O'Neill catching some great highs in the big lifts. Frankie got in for a cracking goal on Tomas Mannion, and that would dent our confidence, and we were chasing the game and they were on top and they were growing in confidence, and in fairness they came over with a massive win.
Yeah.
We were at a crossroads after that game. I remember going for a pint with Porrick Joyce afterwards, and Porrick could be a good bit younger than us. You're 26, 27, sorry, 29, Jesus, at the time, but it says, is it all over here? You know what I mean? But we were lucky, and we didn't, in the old system, you were gone.
Yeah.
And you said, lads, we have a game to shake ourselves. Very sore, but lucky enough, we got a chance to rebound and we just gained momentum. And probably for a lot of things, the team was twigged as we went, and we found our strongest team.
Right.
Sometimes you don't get that in championships. You know, it's slow to take off.
Yeah.
And lucky enough, we got the opportunity when we drew the Rossies in the quarter-final. That's all our boys wanted. And you can see there was a total opposite. They were coming into tune to fucking, you know, they were underdogs.
Or Castlebar, yeah, we'll never beat them again.
Going to 6 was a huge thing for Galway. He was brilliant at 6. He went from the full back line out.
Yeah.
And Fitzy came in. I don't know if Fitzy played. He came in there and he was an all-star after.
And Alan Keane came into goal as well.
That's
and
right,
won an all-star.
Right.
So.
And you got a bit of help with Francie in the replay. We have a picture of that. So we did a swarm defence. You're just standing on. You're standing in the background watching the 3 younger lads there tear into Francie.
Shepherding them into the pin.
But that's it, Frankie. You must have been thinking when you drew Galway the second time in the quarter-final, oh, for fuck's sake. Because, like, I mean, they were brilliant. And you're not going to beat a team like that twice in a row. Let's be honest. Now,
from a Roscommon point of view, it was the worst thing that could happen. You know, you're coming from such a high. You're looking forward to getting to Croke Park. You're working in Croke Park in 10 years plus. Next thing, fucking whoever was over the Connacht thing, you're down to Castlebar, you're playing Galway, like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is not good. You know, it's not good. We wanted to go to Croke Park. We wanted the game out there. And
you didn't want Galway, pretty much.
Like, well, listen, the celebrations after the Connacht final probably didn't help either, you know.
Telling them they were useless going off.
They were famous celebrations now, in fairness.
Here's another John Dively quote. I should have got John Dively here tonight.
Right.
So he says, when Roscommon won, their supporters could and would devour you. It probably felt like winning an All-Ireland title to them. Outlandish comments and gestures often occurred. After defeating us in the 2001 Connacht Championship, they were rumoured to have burned a Galway jersey outside a public house the following afternoon. Can we confirm or deny this one?
No, deny.
This didn't happen. It's Tommy Varden's jersey. You've all got very quiet out there, by the way. We're denying this, Cake.
I think everyone stopped in the right gap for a mighty drink there in Barnajarrock at the time on the way back, and then in Montbellion, which I think Joe Bergen's mum and dad owned at the time. So no, I don't think that. Roscommon people aren't like that.
So we're going to move on from that. So obviously we know Galway won that replay, and that was it. So then you played each other again in 2002. You played each other in 2003 as well, Jav, which was your last game against Roscommon. But the 0-2 game was overshadowed by a certain incident in a hotel in Derry, which we're going to talk a little bit about. So, Frankie, you have the floor now. We have to get to the bottom of this.
Jesus Christ.
So, I have to be honest. When I saw this on the paper at the time, I went, "Holy shit! Were they playing pool with their flutes, or what were they doing?" So,
well, one individual could have.
Self-praise is no praise for
It's not me. He got the Sam Maguire, I got the Nestor combo.
So what happened? Give us the background to this night.
Right. I suppose a long story short, no one's ever asked me this really, bar one report before a game I walked out with the interview, so you have some balls on you, buddy. Some balls on you. I give you that.
I eased you into it well, right?
At the end of the day, it was harmless to us, but long story short, I suppose, went up to play Donegal a couple of weeks before we played Galway down in Salt Hill. I think was it Salt Hill or in High Park in the championship, and so I think it was 3 weeks out. So Toby was over, so we went up anyways, and we're showered after, and we're sitting down for the chat, the normal chat after a game, and Toby goes, "Lads, we're staying in Derry on the way home." We're like, "Jesus Christ, why are we staying in Derry? Like, we're in our Roscommon gear, you know, we've no money, like euros, sterling, whatever it was back then. It was 17 years ago." So we're like, right, okay. So we got to Derry anyways, and I think Nigel Deneen brought in the skinny jeans that night because he was in his tracksuit bottoms, and Nigel says, "Lads, will someone give me a pair of jeans? I'm not going out in Derry. Derry is a real good city for the style and the whole lot, you know." And he came down he came down to the bar that night, and the jeans were hanging off the bottom of his arse, you know. And I said, Nigel, you can't wear those shorts out. He goes, I'm wearing these shorts out. He said, these are really cool. They were David Casey's jeans, actually. David Casey's probably 28 waist. Nigel's probably a 36. But anyways, we went out that night. We had a great night, and the whole lot went back to the hotel. And it was like a private area. It was like there was a pool table there, obviously. And we were residents of the hotel, so like there was no one in the bar the barman. And so we went into the back room and we were playing away. There was, I won't say who was there. They got enough money out of it already. I mean, so I'm not going to give them any more mention. But so we had a bit of crack, and we said, sure lads, we'll toss a coin. Whoever loses can take their clothes off and play the game of pool. You know, so needless to say, myself and Nigel lost the toss. But no one ever talked about we bet the two boys in the game of pool. And Jerry
that win was overshadowed, really.
Yeah, it was overshadowed. Jerry Lohan was the shark of pool and still is. And Francie, you know how competitive he is.
So you took off your clothes, yourself and Nigel, and you played against two lads who had their clothes on. Right. This is just drunken crack, right? Seemed like a good idea at the time. So when did you know then after this? So you just went to bed, whatever, a few of you pissed in the bed or whatever happened. And
that was probably cake. He was on the wine. He didn't join us.
Yeah, we all went to bed, cake, pissed in the bed, you know, whatever happened. And then when did you know that the shit was going to hit the fan?
Before breakfast.
Really? The next morning?
Yeah, the next morning, yeah. The chairman at the time, he got word from, it was a lovely hotel we were staying in fairness, like, you know. If they made a phone call to anybody up the north that said, do not stay in that hotel, whatever you do. But anyways, so the thing happened anyways, and they says it's going to the newspaper, and whoever had the CCTV wanted to make a few pounds, you know.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, to be honest, I didn't really give a shit, to be honest, you know, because I'm sort of thick-skinned enough, you know, so we got on with it anyways. And I'll never forget, about 2 weeks out before we played these boys in the Hyde, I was staying in a friend of mine's house, and he ran a petrol station, and there was a, you know, convenience store and the whole lot. And we were staying in his house, and he was having a cup of tea that morning, and he goes, that's not too bad, Frankie. I said, thank God. He says, it's only the first 3 pages of the national. I said, Jesus Christ, Charlie, you're not. I said, give me that paper. So I sat down anyway, and I was looking, oh, Jesus Christ, it's middle enough. And next thing I turned the paper, another 2 pages. I was like, Jerry, you missed the last 2 pages. That's where the cups were brought in.
So there was the first 5 pages of a Sunday paper was dedicated to this, because I remember
bad,
going
really.
on very, very well at the time.
Not bad. 5 pages.
Jar, were you looking at this going, here, this is, what's going on here?
Absolutely, sure. It was hilarious, really, to be honest. But God, it's funny looking back, right?
Yeah. But for the grace of God.
I'll never forget, Wooly. We were playing Galway that day in the Hyde, and I got the operation on my shoulder the year before we were playing the boys in Salt Hill, and I was coming on with about 15-20 minutes to go, and I was running onto the pitch towards the town end, and there was a good crowd in behind the terrace, you know, on the town end in Hyde Park, and I was running on, and next thing I heard this lad, he was giving it loads, you know, and he was wearing a Galway jersey. I said, jeez, this is going to be great when I get up here. There's a good crowd behind it. And he was roaring and roaring and roaring. Next thing got him behind, he's roared out, Ronnie O'Sullivan! He goes. I actually walked behind the umpire and said, shut your mouth, he was a snooker player.
Like, Cake, you're one of the older lads on the team. Like, I mean, you're one of the leaders. What are you thinking when this is kicking off? Like, I mean, how are you trying to do a PR job on this whole thing? Like,
the funny thing about it, I was in the Mater Hospital after an accident, after a back operation, and every nurse in the Mater was coming into me with the paper. Do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that? I said, I do, yeah, but that's not, you know. To be honest about it, it's funny looking back, but it had very serious consequences for and Frankie, you know, has been very, very, very open about it. But the private lives of players, and the other side of it is, and we all have a laugh, the private lives of players and the private lives of and everyone is now in a social media context out in the open, right? And there's families behind the stories and there's things like that. And it was a mountain out of a molehill. Now, we all know what went on in the last couple of weeks in Dublin with rugby players and things like that. And not to run over or anything like that or dishwash it. But, you know, what happened to the lads was wrong, you know, and, you know, sometimes the circling of the wagons does happen. Had that been a Dublin player or had it been a Galway player or a Kerry player at the time, it wouldn't have got out because the powers that be would have locked it down. But because you're a small county, and we see this, you know, you can widen out the conversation. We see this in monetary terms as well about small counties not getting money. They pick on the small counties and they pick on the small players, you know. And unfortunately, you know, the bottom line for that is the team ended up being disbanded and a lot of negative publicity and
it was very negative. It was,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
very
When
negative.
John Tobin walked away after that year,
Yeah.
the panel was disbanded, a
Yeah.
code of ethics came in,
I love
and
it,
then the ultimate insult is Tommy Carr came in to manage it.
It's what came after Tommy Carr.
No, but Tommy's an army man, so
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
like, I mean, they know exactly what they were doing appointing Tommy, right?
Well, look, I mean, it wasn't an easy thing to pick up, to be honest, because of all the, you know, the negative. There was negative energy, and there's no energy. You know, everything was down. I mean, you're going from a team that's competing almost at All-Ireland quarter-final level to a team that's getting knocked out of the championship in 2002, and morale is very low, and support is low, and you know, fingers have been pointed left, right, and centre at everybody: management, county board, players, so on and so forth. So, you know, Tommy came in, and look at. History, as I think, you know, will be kind to him with the job he done. We got to 2 All-Ireland quarter-finals. We were beaten by Kerry, I think, by a goal in 2003. We were beaten by Dublin by a goal in 2004. Probably should have won that game in Croke Park. And then 2005 it unravelled again, and next thing another army man comes in. So, you know, but these things happen, and that's life. But the wider point is that, you know, we have to be very careful, even nowadays, about players as well, that we protect their privacy. And you see a lot of players getting abuse. You know, when the Roscommon players lose Sunday, you know, a fella misses a point or whatever it may be, a Galway player might miss a goal, or goalkeeper lets a ball in, like happens to Rob Hennessy down again, you know, again Roscommon last day. I think it's gone way over the top, the critique, you know, and we have to be very mindful and careful of that.
I think that's an important thing, Ja, in that the social media age now, that Frankie and Nigel were just unlucky back then, but the way it is now, any sort of a slip-up, you know, teams aren't really going out after matches as much anymore. Maybe are they being a little bit guarded? I know the Galway team didn't even go out in London this year, which always would have been a piss-up for you lads when you went over there. Like, do you know, are they just all being guarded now?
Yeah, well, social media is very hard. As you see yourself, the comments. It's not the players themselves. The players will deal with all the comments. It's their nans and their parents picking up and their relations reading these comments on Facebook or wherever it is on the, you know, the social media sets. So that's the most disappointing thing, because that eats them up, because they put their young lad up on the pedestal and they absolutely respect them and they do everything they can for them, and then they're reading this and it's very hurtful for them. You know what I mean? And they're giving their time and they're enjoying it, and you know, they're not getting paid. You know, to be honest, you look back at the lads, we were getting mileage, we were getting pence. They were getting cents, and there's a lot difference. And the price of diesel and fuel has gone up, so they're getting nothing out of it as such, but enjoyment, and we all get enjoyment out of it. So.
Some Dublin players are getting $6,000 an appearance, I was reading during the week. Did you read that?
Yeah, but again, I don't think that's fair either, Wooly, because, you know, down through the years, we've all probably got a few quid out of an appearance money and things like that.
You those kick-out teas, didn't you?
Yeah, that's a different deal.
I tell you a better one. I opened a bar, it was sort of a pool bar. The year after that happened.
You did not, did you?
I did, yeah.
How did it go?
Yeah, it went great.
Tourist attraction.
Oh, yeah.
Come here, before I let you off the stage, lads, I have to ask you about Anthony Cunningham. He's a Galway man, obviously, Ja. More known in Galway for his hurling management. Has obviously got a lot of football experience. Started off his management career with St. Bridget's lads, Frankie. What's his secret?
Well, I don't think there's any secret into it.
He's a good record in hurling and football.
He's an unbelievable record down through the years, and I don't think he gets half the recognition he should get, because he's going from both codes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think one thing that he brings that little bit of bite, you know, that bit of physicality. He loves his team being fit, being aggressive, being in your face, and I think you can really see that in this Roscommon team. I think he has a really tight-knit group there now, and they're really bought into what he's preaching, and I think they have that belief back that they mightn't have had for a while. And
Does he give big passionate speeches and all that kind of
He
thing? Or?
wouldn't really, no, to be honest. No, he wouldn't give... No, but he's a player's man. To me,
Right.
he's a real player's man, and if he asks you to do something, you do it. You know, and I think if they can bring that level of everything that they brought to Mayo and tighten up maybe in the full back line, tighten up on Ian Burke, getting the breaking ball around the middle of the field and getting enough ball around the middle to get into the likes of Cox and Murta, and Smith, whoever else you have, Tony Smith, Conor Devaney, whoever will be coming in and out. I think we have a good chance, but that middle area is going to be crucial for us on Sunday.
Yeah, no, it definitely will. We're going to talk about the match in part 2. I'm just wondering, Cake, about Cunningham. Do you have any kind of insight into what... Like, I talk to people and that he's managed, and they're like, he's all right. And there's never glowing reports, I'm not going to lie. And that's he's been in with Laois, he's been in with Galway, he's been in with loads of different teams that you'll be talking to lads. And it's not like you hear of a Jim McGuinness, you know what I mean? Players rave about the likes of managers like Jim McGuinness and all. He's nowhere near that level, but still he does really well with every team he's with.
Yeah, and look at it, and as Frankie touched on it there, you know, he's a player's man, you know, he enjoys the crack, you know, and that's probably his biggest attribute, you know, and maybe bringing players together. And there's been a big turnover of players this year.
Huge turnover,
Huge turnover of players from this year to last year, and obviously Conor Cox coming in has been a huge fill-up to the county, particularly with Kieran Murtha been out. And it's very, you know, I think that's another thing that we probably need to look at and have spoke about in the past is there's an awful lot of players with heritage around every county that we need to just target them and see can we get them playing for the counties, particularly the smaller counties. And Cox has been an unbelievable find to us. And the game we're playing, I suppose, you know, Kevin, when he was manager, played a very open, expansive game that probably didn't look after the defensive side of it. And maybe had he stayed another couple of years, that defensive side would be got right. But Anthony's come in, and obviously it's not almost a blanket defence, but having Cox up there as a pillar and a guy you can kick the ball to and know that it's going to stick up there. You could see against Mayo that he caused all sorts of trouble, and that's something I suppose, you know, that the Roscommon team obviously put a lot of work into this year is working on defence, working on getting the players back, working on tackling, work rate, and being able to take players on and off then. And the 3 dailies coming back has been a plus. Cox coming in. I think if we're looking at the game in real reality against Mayo, we coughed up an awful lot of ball out around the middle third of the pitch. Our kick-outs were running at less than 50%. If we do that against Galway, it'll be difficult to win the match. But I think if we can sort that out, we'll have a good chance. And that'll be down to Anthony and his team to see can we get an advantage there. And tactically, that's probably where the game is going to be won. And can we come up with the right formula to keep Galway quiet?
Yeah, exactly. Ja, what do you think about Cunningham? How's he rated in Galway? Like,
I've only met him once, to be honest, and I never crossed paths with him in football. But look from the outside in, he seems to be a very passionate man, and he leads like he's a throwback to the old managers where you flicking chest out and you go out and the challenge is there and you stand up to it. And he doesn't seem to be like the modern managers, which I think a lot of players are mad into stats and graphs and everything. You know, when you go out in the middle of a match, you know, if the game is going against you, a guy has to stand up. You know, there's one thing graphs and these, you know, stats don't measure. They don't measure temperament.
Yeah.
And as anyone ever played in a game of football, you do an awful lot more wrong than you do right. It's always about turning around the next ball and getting that and been there, getting in at half time. You often see teams up 3 or 4 points at half time. It's gone out. There's no medals at half time. You go and the next ball to turn it around and that type of, and he's a manager that'll back a player and instills confidence and say, I know you can do it, rather than saying, oh, stats, he's lost 3 balls, curly finger. You know what I mean? And you have to instill that confidence, especially a smaller county like Roscommon, who probably wouldn't have the panel that Galway have on Sunday. But you can be certain sure there'll be very little in this game. You can see the Rossies, they're really up for it, they're motivated, and they want to challenge and prove it. And they're going to be underdogs again next Sunday, and they'll put Galway to the pin of the collar. You know, probably, I think we said we might have a little bit more quality, but going even back to 2001, you're on about that. If someone gets the upper hand of the team, the crowd get behind them, it's very hard to change that. You know,
yeah.
And no stat, no graph, no tackling count will ever change any of that. But the man himself is on upstairs.
Yeah. See, it's the crowd. See how important you are on Sunday? Get behind them. Right, give it up for panel number 1. Ja Fallon, Frankie Dolan and Shane Curran. Welcome back to the GAA Hour. All right, we're ready for panel 2. Give it up for Sean Armstrong, Shawnee McDermott, and Mark O'Shea. So I had to put Mark in between the two of you lads because I had a feeling there might have been maybe a little bit of history between the two of you. And I texted Sean the other day and I went, "You would have marked Shawnee a good bit, wouldn't you?" He says, "Yeah." I says, "Yeah. Well, think of some stuff on him." "Oh, I fucking think about it, all right." He said. So did you always pair off against each other, or was you marked Dominican a bit as well?
To be honest, not really. I don't think we.
No, Shawnee would have always been on the better corner forward. So
Mean was your man, was he?
Yeah, I actually. Anytime we play Galway, I kind of always picked up Michael, in the early years, and then as it went on, I think in the last couple of years, I was marking. I think it was young Daly lad in 2017, and it was actually on Shane Washington for the second half. That wasn't too easy now, but
No.
I think I would have marked Sean a couple of times, probably FPD League and that kind of stuff. He'd been carried a bit of timber, it was easier to mark.
Early in the season.
Yeah,
and would there be a bit of trash talking going on between the two of you, or would it be kind of very,
No, I think myself and Shawnee always got on well enough. I was always happy to see him on the other corner, to be quite honest with you, because he would have been a disaster to mark. I always like to play out in front.
I was a very fair and honest cornerback,
Yeah, well, sometimes you wonder cornerbacks get, reputations of being tigerish or maybe kind of mouthpieces. And I had you flagged on this until I saw this video and realised that you were actually really a big softie.
Every night in my dreams,
Oh, man.
So Andy Moran, obviously a friend of yours from college there.
Yeah, we grew up and went to school together and grew up together, but actually a lot of people get it mixed up. A lot of people think that me and Andy are first cousins, but we're not. We share the same first cousin.
Right.
So we're not cousins at all. But
How do you share them? A day on, a day off?
outside.
Yeah. What about you, Mark? Sure, you were in the kind of cut and thrust of the full back line for a long time.
I was, yeah.
Who would have been your kind of...
Take your pick. And you know what, when you're playing in Croke Park, I was listening to Shawnee there, and he said, particularly towards the end of your career, and you're saying, I was marking that young Daly lad, he said, and that's the way it was towards the end of my career. I was marking young Gainey one night in training, and I asked him, what age are you? And he says, 18. And I says, oh my God, I'm 18 years older than you, it's time to go. So, you just get a kind of a sense of it. But, down through the years, you'd be marking players, and, you talk about, tough opponents. Michael Meehan was a fella I came across in 2008. Marked him in 2004 in the All-Ireland Club Final the first time.
He cleaned you in the rain in 08, I remember, didn't he?
Yeah, he cleaned a lot of us that day because I was taken off him after he got 2 points. And thankfully he got a goal and 2 off Tom Sullivan. So at least I could say I kept him to 2 points. But no, he was a man on fire that day. And he was just an exceptional player. And the thing about Michael Meehan was that whenever he got the ball, and he just got, and he'd take you on. And if he didn't beat you one way, he was going to go another way. And he was a class act, and unfortunately just got dogged with injuries. But one of the toughest that I've ever come across, without a doubt.
Now remember, we're in Roscommon here now, not Galway.
Yeah. You're the man who brought up Michael Meehan.
There's one thing I want to talk to the three of you. We're going to talk about the game in this section, but I want to talk about the ins and outs of the full back line, because for me, you started the attacking cornerback phenomenon, right? You pretty much started it, and I don't think you didn't start. You only started it because you loved being on the ball. You were a wing back playing in cornerback, and you were bored in there, right? I think cornerbacks now, Shawnee, are taking off with no intentions of getting the ball, just to drag Sean Armstrong up the field.
Up the field, so he's not inside. Yeah.
Is that what's happening? Is that talked about, or is that just?
It is and it isn't. I think it's just the game has evolved really. It's kind of a lot more athletic now. Yeah, look, I know even myself I'd like to get forward a lot when I was playing in the corner, but a lot of it is maybe to keep the corner forward busy. You don't want to be inside, having him inside the 14, because if the ball comes in, you're in trouble. And one thing for sure, if you're caught one-on-one inside, you definitely want to go running to make sure he gets out of there. Because I think even as a cornerback, my time playing at Roscommon in the full back line, the full back line is kind of a position where you're hoping you're going to break 50-50 midfield or more, because you don't have as much to do. Whereas if you're under pressure in midfield, you're going to have a busy day in the full back line. So you're kind of hoping, I hope we break 50-50, maybe more, my day will be easier,
Yeah, no, and Sean, from yourself playing inside, because Galway get a lot of bad press about, they're only leaving one up. From me watching Galway, they try to leave 3 up. But it's not always possible because you're chasing somebody down. You know, often chasing the way the game has gone, everyone's attacking, everyone's defending. It's very hard to keep a shape.
It is very hard to keep a shape, and I suppose you see now what they're kind of adapting towards is a kind of Dublin style, this kind of counter-attacking football. And I know our training last year in particular, we would try to keep 4 up. And at training, Ian Burke would be roaring to keep 4 up because Ian Burke likes the link man in the half forward line. He needs the link man because that's when he's on fire getting those 30-yard passes in spaces, because that's when he's lethal. And you have Colm in then as another option. You could float in high, and you have Shane Walsh in the 50 as well. And we have deadly forwards in Galway, but as you're saying there to Shawnee and Mark, the way the game has gone now, you're counter-attacking and you're bombing. And you try it as much as you possibly can, maybe to leave 2 up there, because if you do have a break, you have a hit or target man up front. Yeah. But if you have to track the likes of Mark and track the likes of Shawnee, and you don't track them, you're going to get an earful. You're going to get an earful.
But that's the thing. This is the thing. And we talk about this on the show all the time. Why don't they cheat, right? And don't follow every time and gas yourself out. That's what they want. There's enough bodies there to pick them up, Mark. What do you think? Like, I mean, why don't we see any counties with the corner forward just going, I'm letting them on?
Cute, yeah, absolutely. In Kerry in 2015, when Dublin beat us in the All-Ireland, you know, the management came in for a lot of flack after the game because Philly McMahon was coming down the field and Gooch was marking him, and actually, I think Donncha Walsh was told, you know, as much as you can, pick him up, you know, and I think that's the way the modern game has gone. We were actually never told back in the day when I was playing. I started off in 0-1. But when I started off, you know, I just wanted to express myself as a player and just get on the ball, because I felt kind of trapped inside there, and you know, I just wanted to get out the field and bring him on a run as well, obviously, but just get up the field. And you know, I felt I had as much to show as the wing back or as the midfielder. And you know, but the other side of it is, you know, it's grand to get up the field, but your primary duty is to defend. And you have to be able to mark your man. And so, you know, if I went up the field and kicked a point, great stuff. But at the end of the day, if the ball is kicked in and my man gets a goal, that point is no good shot. So, like, it's fine to be able to get up the field, your primary duty. And I think it's something that's kind of going out of the game. And I think, you know, in the last, you can say 7 or 8 years, we're looking at sweepers and all of this. I think the art, there's an art in defending, and it's going out of the game, be it blocking a ball, be it taking a man on 1-for-1, being able to stop him up, dispossess him. There's an art in that, and I think, unfortunately, it's creeping out of our game.
Yeah, maybe it is with the zonal players and everything like that. But I suppose, like, I mean, well, that is a good point. Like, it's gas when you think about it. Back before these defensive systems came in, you'd swear every game was 5-20 to 5-20. Like, you know, it was still low-scoring games. It's just back then, the wing back, if his man wasn't on the ball, he would drop back and help out. There was always lads helping out. It just didn't have to have lads back in zones helping out.
That's very true. Yeah, I suppose like what was happening then times was you were kind of what they call like near side defending.
Yeah.
You know, if the ball is on the right hand side of the field, your left half back drop in, like, you know, and your half forward come back to help out.
Yeah.
And as Mark alluded to there, like their defending is probably dying out because there's so many bodies back. Actually, in the kind of final last year in Hyde Park, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That Galway were, I think, Jira Murtha kicking a couple of points early in the first half, and actually no one picked him up. He actually got free in between 2 lines of Galway players where they all thought, oh, he's okay there. Right. We don't need to be that tight. He's not going to whip it. And he whipped it over, you know. Yeah. Whereas, obviously, like Jira, there's a lot more close attention, you know. Yeah. But that kind of can happen, I think, when you're having swarm defences. Lads are kind of leaving the job to someone else. Lads are unsure of what they should be doing. And, you know, it's fine, I think, at a certain point of the championship, but as it goes on and the championship evolves and you move on to the higher games, this kind of blanket defence goes out, really.
But I actually think the game, like, you know, before, like, if you were marking a Michael Meehan or a Shawnee Armstrong, whoever, you know, you go to their most dangerous player. The way the game has gone now, you know, it's not one player marking that player. It's like, let's keep this fella quiet and let's go to the nearest point of danger. And you know what? If this guy over here kicks 5 points, which we know he's not going to kick, then you know what? Good luck to them if they win the match. But it's gone to, so like these one-on-one battles, they're no longer like when Ja Fallon was playing or you know, Frankie Dolan or shit, you know.
They're gone. But you mentioned Ja Fallon. Remember that All-Ireland in '98? Michael Dolan spent most of the first half camping in front of the Kildare full forward line and then breaking up the field so fast. No, but wing forwards always dropped back and defended. Like, there's this idea that was always the case. But the zonal thing was the new thing, Sean. And like you were zonal for a while. I'm not sure if you're moving away from that a little bit now.
I think, I do remember when I first went back into the panel with Kevin, we did our pre-season on a basketball court. And our pre-season was on arc defending and marking spaces and how to cut off the zones and how to get into good body positions and the whole lot. And it was excellent training for your footwork and the whole lot. And it does work, but as Shawnee alluded to there, I remember that first half down in Hyde Park last year. They were kicking points for fun, but we came back so deep. And at half time, Kevin was roaring us, you have to push out, make the arc you saw, but make it deeper. But I think what's affecting the football and why it's not as pretty on the eye as it used to be is it's a real slow, methodical build-up now. And it's all about possession. You're scared to give the ball away because I know at training, if you give the ball away once, twice, you're getting an earful and you're thinking, in a match, I'm going to get taken off here because I've given away the possession twice. It's about minding the ball and picking the right pass. Like.
Yeah, so there's no express yourself.
There's no express yourself. You're afraid to give it away. Like,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, the stats will come out. The great thing about Roscommon's style of play this year is that, well, maybe against Mayo, they were lucky in that Mayo play that kind of man-for-man game and they caught Craig out in front of the two lads inside. And I thought your man Lennon played really well in the first half. I don't know how I thought he was unlucky to get taken off, and they wanted to get Murta on probably.
It probably was
more of the second than the first.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably a pre-planned move.
But Craig was able to play that link man, so they had a kicking. They were able to turn it over and they had a kicking game, and they were getting it down really quick, getting a shot off. Yeah, which was fantastic to watch.
It was great to watch. Like I think Mayo obviously had a high press. Their half back line was up. Everyone was up, and for Roscommon to get that kick pass away, which they did, they were in. They had space. I say Conor Cox couldn't believe the space he got.
Yeah.
Do you know? And like even going back to it, like I mean, a lot of people obviously, you know, Brendan Harrison was probably in for a lot of criticism after the game, but I know if I was Brendan Harrison, I'd be bowling with my half back line.
Yeah, you can't. If your man gets good ball, you can do nothing. Your man gets good balls.
I often said it before. If you're marking Mickey Mouse and Mickey Mouse getting enough good ball, you're going to be in trouble. Like at some stage, you're going to be in trouble, especially at that level. You know, there's no doubt about it.
No, well, that's it, Mark. Like, I mean, you are a lamb to the slaughter, and then then you're doing the analysis, and you're like, "Were Mayo stupid to do that?" And then Mayo have a philosophy, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. And to be fair, I don't think they were stupid. I think they played to win the game themselves, and the risk of leaving that open was to get more scores the other end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's hard to be harsh.
We're watching the Sunday game and the analysts are on and they're giving out about teams that are playing mass defences. You have to, but admire the teams that are going for it, you know. And I totally agree with Shawnee. I mean, I used to remember back in training marking the gooch, and if the good fellas, like the good kickers on the ball out the field, if Declan O'Sullivan got the ball, if Dara got the ball, you'd have to get that bit tighter to the gooch because you knew there was a good ball being put in. And you know, again, I totally agree, particularly in Croke Park. If you're being beaten in Croke Park, it is like lambs to the slaughter because a good day is if you're being well beaten, 2 or 3 points, you know, and like that's the way it is. It's just the open spaces. It is so hard to defend. And in the way the modern game has gone, and you mentioned about half hours dropping. What you'll have then is you'll have a half hour dropping, but you'll have the corner forward coming into the half hour line. So you just play with 2 full forwards. And, you know, it's the space inside is, and they're not making runs out the field, they're making lateral runs, which means when they win the ball, they're halfway turned to kick the ball over the bar, which makes it twice as hard to man mark.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the thing, Sean, about having Craig there, and that's why Ian Burke wants that man on the 40, because you know, playing corner forward, you play in the 2-man full forward line, you don't want to make that run outside where you can turn and score. Yes. You need someone else to do that work for you and then give you a ball closer to goal.
It's extremely one-dimensional. You're either going to get a hoof of long ball or it's going to be a patient build-up where you're no longer an option.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get on the loop then. But if you have an anchor man there on the 50 and if he gets the ball, as Mark is saying then, you can go left, you can go right, you can switch the lad beside you and you're getting the ball in a dangerous area rather than getting a 50-yard pass as you run out to the wing with your back to the goal, hoping for someone to come off your shoulder.
Yeah.
And that is a full forward. You're not expressing yourself. Like you're just an old number 9 in soccer. You're just holding up the ball for the next.
Well, that's the thing, and you're just coming on loop. But I find it gas that you said you're trying to leave 4 up because I knew you were trying to do that. Like I mean, and is this why Kevin Walsh gets the hump when he, like the knives are out for Galway? But like I do find with game plan you have, is that when you're defending deep, maybe you're sucking their backs up, which is messing up your 4 a little bit as well. Then, right?
Like I know Kevin has built when he first came in, and he took over from Alan Maholland. Like Galway were getting absolutely annihilated. Like they were getting annihilated. And I suppose if you want to build a house, you have to have a good foundation. And what Kevin did was he built the defence. And Kevin would tell you himself that he much rather is coaching than managing. Like Kevin just wants to be defensive coach, and he's excellent at it. Like, and I know people talking to people that has played against us. We're a horrible team to play against, but you kind of take a compliment from that in the defensive system. But he is trying to get the balance right, and I know that for a fact. And I think he does take things a little bit personal from time to time because
he doesn't like it, right? He's spiky.
But he is really trying to play the attractive football that Galway have been renowned for and have a tradition to do. But like that, it's just so hard to keep your 4 men up if you have lads just bombing into your half. Like, you have to track them, you have to block up the space.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to kick scores for fun. Like,
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to know, you know what I mean?
I think it's about a balance, really. Like, even if you watch Dublin's full backline is never isolated. I don't care what anyone says; they're never isolated. Like, it mightn't be always Keane O'Sullivan, but there's someone there.
Yeah.
There's someone there helping out, waiting for that deflection to gather the ball to bring it away. You know, so it's nearly like I don't know how they do it, whether it's on this wheel or what they do, but someone is always there helping out. It's not that they're camped back; they're pressing. There's someone obviously coming in then to sweep and help their full backline. You know, but it's really about, you know, it's really about being able to go man to man and know that you also have help there. Like,
yeah.
You know?
What do you make of Roscommon this year? Like, there've been a huge turnover, obviously with a few retirements and whatever. But there's a lot of players have gone out. What was the stat before the last game against Mayo? It was like there's only 4 players.
I think
that
4
started.
starters, yeah.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah, like. That's true, but there's a lot of the lads there now that are playing for Roscommon.
Nearly all the bench came on, and
the lads that had been there that maybe weren't getting in last year. The Dailies are all back. You know, they bring a lot of physicality to the Roscommon backline. Conor Hussey now was really stepped up this year. Well, Conor was showing great signs of that last year, that he was going to make a number 5 or number 6, like, which he has done. You know, I'm very impressed with him. I think that.
Has he gone out for big men, especially?
I don't think he has. Like, I don't think he's really gone out for big men. Because look, if Kieran Murtha was around this year, Kieran Murtha being the team, Kieran Murtha's not that big a man. Kieran Murtha's a phenomenal centre forward. He's probably in the top 4 or 5 centre forwards in the country, in my eyes. You know, he's a real. If you were the Gooch inside, you'd want the likes of Kieran Murtha getting on the ball to feed you. You know, so I don't know if it's that he's really going for a big team. I see Conor Devaney's back in the team again for the Connacht final. Conor's not that big a man, but he's a ferocious work ethic. You know, and I think that's what Anthony brings to the Roscommon team. He brings a work ethic and what he expects from them all. You know, whether you're a corner forward, whether you're number 15 or number 2, you have to work to a standard. You know, and I think last year for us with Roscommon, I think we were very open. I think we were a bit naive. We were playing a real kind of Barcelona-style football, kick 4-22, but maybe concede 5-25. You know, which, you know, realistically, it's not. You know, it's
Look,
not
I saw you
sustainable.
against Armagh. It was one of the best games I saw. I was just across the road and I watched it. I was just this is just absolutely fantastic stuff.
It was
you
great
know,
to watch, but like.
But Armagh would have played a similar style.
And I kind of knew going into the Super 8s then that, you know, we could be in for it here. Because, you know, realistically, when you're going into a Connacht final or you're going up to play the Super 8s, your main focus, and this doesn't mean that you have to camp in your own 45, but your main focus has to be, we are going to be in this game at half-time by hook or by crook. No matter what happens, when we come out the second half, Roscommon are in this game, with 10 minutes to go, we're in this game, we're giving ourselves a fighting chance. And that's what they did when they went to Castlebar. It wasn't that Mayo played mad poorly. Mayo had 17 wides. You know, Mayo could have drawn the game and Kevin McLaughlin kicked the free, you know. But it's all about, for Roscommon, stay in the game. We know we have good forwards. Stay in the game, stay working, and let's see where the last 10 minutes bring us.
Yeah. It seemed to me, like, I don't know whether it's fair or not. Like, I mean, and obviously the perception now of Anthony Cunningham is he worked a lot on strength and conditioning and he has them going. Like, I'd be surprised Kevin McStay didn't work on strength and conditioning, but you didn't look to be at the level of strength and conditioning of Tyrone, or maybe it's just when they're winning well, it looked like that.
It looks like that. I think that's, personally, I think the Roscommon team do look well conditioned, but I think it all depends how you're going. Would they be talking about that if Roscommon got beaten last Saturday night or Saturday week, whatever? I don't know. Would they been talking about the conditioning then? You know, it's just that they won. They're obviously in great condition. There has been a lot of work put into it. The lads that are there now, like, you know, it's coming over numerous years, and obviously it's coming to the fore now this year, you know.
Yeah, you look like you didn't miss too many arm days anyways under
it's the scissors, it's very heavy, you know.
Where are Galway at then, Sean? Like, I mean, when you look at it, they're riddled with injuries. Like, this is not Galway's best team. This is why I think they're very, or Roscommon are a bit of a crazy price at 5-2, considering I think both teams have full strength. I'm sorry, I think Galway win it, but this is nowhere near Galway's best team, really, is it?
No, they're missing quite a few, and I know there's a few lads come back from injury, but they've missed. I think Declan Kine has missed. He got injured in the FPD game. He's only coming back. Paul Conroy with the leg break's only come back. Comer hasn't trained sweet F all season.
Cook is only back. Duggan is out.
Duggan's out. Like, they're missing a good few stalwarts there. Like, I saw the team there today. When I saw the team, and I have to be careful, obviously, because I know a good few of the lads in there. Like, but I saw the team, I was quite worried for them, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
And then it got me unfortunately thinking they're going to go defensive. Like, I can see this being a real kind of defensive class again by Galway, and just try and keep the score down and hopefully beat Roscommon on the counter, because I think Kevin knows himself he doesn't have his full deck of cards there. So what Kevin do is he'll do what he knows best, and that's shut up shop and try and beat them on the counter. So I don't think it's going to be a pretty spectacle, unfortunately.
There's bound to be a big wind in Salt Hill as well
Yeah,
to ruin it. How do you see it going, Mark?
I suppose, we spoke about Anthony Cunningham, what he brings to the Roscommon team. He was a minor, under-21 senior All-Ireland hurling winning player with Galway. Went on, he's well gotten Roscommon with the Bridgets winning the All-Ireland club. Anything he's done, he's really done it with heart, with honesty, with everything. I think the Roscommon team have bought into him. They seem to be playing with a bit of a steel this year about him. If you read any interviews during the week or anything, the big thing that I notice is that every Roscommon player that has been interviewed, they're disappointed with their performance against Mayo, which for me is speaks volumes. They beat Mayo. You listen to the lads. I don't know who was interviewed there, but one of the lads said, Mayo kicked 15, 16 wides. It's all focusing on how poorly they played against Mayo. So that tells you where the Roscommon mindset is at. That's where you want to be at if you're playing in a Connacht final. And it's the one thing about Connacht in recent years. It's become very competitive. Both teams are going for 2 titles in 3 years. Galway back to back, which I think Galway really want to do is back to back. And okay, fair enough. Shawnee's on about the injuries that they have. I don't even look at it that way. I agree that they have to play defensive, but I think I was at the Mayo Galway National League game above in McHale Park this year, and in the first half, Galway were exceptional.
God help you.
No, they were. I know, yeah, but the way they were moving the ball, like the way, and that's the big problem I have with the Galway team, and perhaps it's because of their defensive structure, but they were transitioning the ball at pace, and that's what you need to do. Particularly if you have forwards. I know Comer is out. I know they're missing a few players, but if you've got the likes of Anthony Lee, Daly, Shane Walsh, you need to get the ball into these fellas fast. If Galway do that, I think they'll win. But look, Roscommon's mindset, the way they're Shane mentioned it there in the first half of the programme. 2001 is the last time they've beaten Mayo and Galway to win a Connacht title. I wouldn't be surprised if Roscommon did it on Sunday.
Right, okay.
Free points from me tonight.
How do you deal with Shane Walsh, then, Sean? Will Roscommon drop off him and let him back? Because he'll probably drift into midfield maybe at times.
Yeah.
Or do you have to follow him? Or is following him stupid because he's so fast and he'll get back, ahead?
I had the unfortunate job of marking him in the second half in Salt Hill in 17, and I picked him up maybe after 20 minutes of the first half. He was out around the middle and I was told to follow him, and he's the type of player that drifts in and out of games. Unfortunate for Galway, he drifts in and out of games. I'm not sure whether it's just that he switches off or whatever happens, but
does he stop his runs, or how does he drift out of it? Or
I don't know what he does. I'm not really sure. I think it's kind of if the ball isn't near him, it's kind of he's not looking to get back involved. Right. I don't know. I was quite happy when he did it. Yeah. But
you notice he'll come in spurts.
He'll come in spurts. And I remember going down the tunnel at half time in 17, and I said to John McManus and Sean Malooly, I said, if Walsh gets a yard on me, I said, you got to leave your man. Because he's going to put the ball, he's going to solo, he's going to look to get a shot away. I said, you got to leave your man, you got to come to him. And actually in that game, I think John and Sean Malooly picked up 2 yellows from coming to him, because if he gets a yard in you, even with the ball in hand, he's ridiculously fast. Yeah. And he has a stride. He's quite a big guy. He's 6'1", Yeah. I think what you do with Shane Walsh is you obviously don't follow him out. If he goes past your 45 midfield, you got to wait for him and take him as he comes back, because if you go with him, he's got phenomenal pace.
That's the thing, yeah. No, listen, lads, we'll leave it with predictions here. So you're going to have the cast and vote. I'll make you make the case for Galway, Sean. There's an exit just over. There's an exit over there.
I was chatting actually to Shane Stapleton from AIB there during the week, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's my heart, and maybe I'm just being biased, obviously being a pro Galway man. But I can see Galway winning it by 3 or 4 points. But
it's gas how serious they take predictions, isn't it?
And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Conroy getting a bit of game time, and I know Comer's back to him a small bit, but I don't think they'll chance Damien. But I just think Galway are just that difficult to play against. And I think Galway on the counter, as Mark was saying there against Mayo, if they can transition that ball fast and get that fast ball up to the boys, I think they can do a bit of damage up there. But I think it's going to be a tight and interesting game. I don't know if it'll be pretty, but it's definitely going to be a tight and interesting game. But I think, just being a Galway man, I'd love to see Galway win it, but I'd love to see them go back to back.
So quickly there, the few Galway lads in there. Just quickly then, just to so I'll understand. Say when you say you want them to transition quickly, and I saw Laois Westmeath last week. I see loads of teams. They'll win a ball on a turnover, and there is a kick pass on. But if they don't give it there, then that attack's pretty much gone. If they go sideways, because the other team's filtering back. Do you talk about that as a panel and as a team and say we have to do this, or then do lads say, well then what about the stats?
Then is you give away the ball.
Yeah,
and then,
but would you not take that risk? Or would Kevin be in these players' meetings?
As
or would you?
As a corner forward, I'd love if they took those risks. I'd love if they had the faith in me to go right a 50-50 ball. 9 times out of 10, I'll win it for you if you kick it into me.
Yeah.
All right. And the problem then is, right, if you're out of your defensive shape and if you're on the counter attack and you've got your corner backs going, you've got your half backs going, everyone's going on the attack now, and you're trying to keep maybe man on man. If that breaks down, you don't have your defensive system set up.
Yeah.
That's when you're at your most vulnerable. I think that's what's in the psyche of players. If I give this ball away, are we set up at the back? They're thinking too much.
Is that in the psyche of players or the manager's directions? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's just the way the modern game has gone, and probably that obviously stems from the managers,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Because I would imagine if I was on the Galway team, I would say, right, well, our forwards will beat their forwards, so we should be able to go into that kind. You know, depending, maybe not against Kerry, for example, but a lot of teams you would be. But what do you think, Shawnee?
I think if Roscommon are going to win on Sunday, I think they're going to have to win a lot more of the breaking ball in the middle third. I think, you know, they only won 42% of the ball in the Mayo game. It just shows how, you know, economical they were with the possession they had 26 shots from 30 attacks. 20, which isn't bad going. That's very good going. But what I'm saying is, can you imagine if Roscommon could win at least 50% of that breaking ball? Maybe more. Then I think they can win the game. I think if Roscommon can improve on that aspect, and I agree with Mark, the Roscommon players will be very critical of themselves after the Mayo game. I know from talking to Carl, my own club mate, that they would have been, you know, critical of their of aspects of the game, and that was one big one where they wouldn't have been happy. You know, so if they can get that right, get their hands on more ball around the middle third, I think they're well capable of winning the game. It's going to be very tight. I think Roscommon are going to have to be very patient as well, but I think Roscommon can win it by 3-4 points.
Brilliant stuff. 1-1, Mark. You're banned from calling a draw now, by the way.
Yeah, no, I won't call a draw. I genuinely believe that if Galway can play the way they can play, and you know, like we're talking about, and it's interesting to hear Shawnee's points about, you know, afraid to make mistakes, and I think that's a big issue. You know, you can't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's the case on every team in the country, though, Mark.
Okay, if you're playing right and there's 6 forwards up there and there's 8 backs, granted you don't kick the ball. You know, you don't, because the probabilities are the ball is going to come back out. But if you're playing on a counter attack and if there's a kick on, you have to trust yourself, no matter where you play. And that comes down to ball skills. That comes down to, you know, I'm seeing it day in, day out, footballers playing the game. And the first thing they want to do, particularly backs, they want to pass the ball away because they don't have the skill set to execute a proper pass. And, you know, that comes down to the 15 players, the 24 players, the 26. Each player has to be as skillful as the next, no matter where you play. And I think that's a big part of the game. But getting back to the game on Sunday, I think that, you know, Galway have to trust themselves. They have to, you know, they have the skill set. We're talking about Shane Walsh. I know he does drift, and I agree with you, he does drift in and out of games. But Galway have to get him on the ball as much as possible on Sunday, because he's a match winner, you know, particularly when you're missing the likes of Comer. So if you can get a performance out of Shane Walsh for 17 minutes and the likes of get the likes of the Anthony O'Lees, you know, all these lads coming in maybe a point or two, you know, I think then Galway have a great chance. But the other side of it is, and you know, I keep going back to Roscommon and their attitude. Their, you know, the last 10 minutes of the Mayo game, they were, okay, granted, they you know, you can say Kevin McLaughlin had a chance to draw the game. They were down to 14, wasn't it?
That's
you
right,
know,
yeah.
And you know, and they saw the game. And I think, you know, Cunningham has come in, you know, and he's added that little bit of steel. And I think if they can have that the next day, I wouldn't be surprised Roscommon winning by a point.
So who are you going for?
I wouldn't be surprised Roscommon winning by a point.
Okay,
You're carrying on away.
there you have it. He's a cute O'Shea, isn't he? That's it. Listen, give it up for our second panel. Sean Armstrong, Mark O'Shea, Shani McDermott. All right, we're taking a 2-minute break, and we're coming back with the GAA Hour quiz. And I have to tell you something about the GAA Hour quiz. Every team that has won the quiz before a big match at the weekend has gone on to win the match. So we've Galway versus Roscommon quiz after this. Okay, so there's 3 rounds to this quiz. There is the how many All-Stars does he have round, what club does he play for round, and name that team round, right? In the event of a tie-break, I'm not sure, I haven't thought that far ahead. So I hope that there's a winner straight out. Right, so team 1 is Roscommon, team 2 is Galway. Question 1 for team 1. How many All-Stars does James Horan have? You can confer.
2.
2 is the correct answer. Question 1 for team 2. How many All-Stars does Mickey Linden have?
91, 94. I know.
1. You're not even conferring with your captain, you're so sure, Ja. 1 is the correct answer. 1-all. Question 2 to team 1. How many All-Stars does Diarmuid Connolly have?
3. Are you sure?
Yeah, we have to push you for an answer, Rossies.
He's saying 2. He's saying go.
All-Stars
What
for
are you
what?
saying? We'll split in the middle. 1 is saying 5, 1 is saying 2. We'll go for 3.
Oh, 2 was the correct answer. Who said 2? Frankie. All right. Question 2. Who said 5? Cake. Okay. Question 2 to team 2. How many All-Stars does Bernard Brogan have?
3 or 4. 4.
4 is the correct answer. Galway 2, Roscommon 1. Okay, question 3 to team 1. How many All-Stars does Mark O'Shea have?
Not half enough.
If you were a wing back, you'd have had a lot more, right?
No, but come here. Okay, go on.
Give him one with the 3 soft.
4.
3. Another one wrong. Okay, question 3 to team 2. How many All-Stars should Frankie Dolan have?
10.
Oh, it is a very serious question. How many All-Stars should Frankie Dolan have?
Has it actually?
Does he have it, yeah?
Who's the captain? Should have 3 All-Stars.
Should have 1 All-Star 2003, wasn't it, Frankie? Absolutely robbed. 12 and 13.
That came up before we came back to
All right, so what are we? 2-1 to Galway after round 1. Okay, round 2 is what club does he play for round? So question 1 to team 1, which is Roscommon. What club does Shane Walsh play for?
Kilcurran-Clonberne.
Kilcurran-Kilburn, I didn't know that one. Question 1 to team 2, what club does Conor Cox play for?
Listowel.
No, Roscommon club.
Huh? He doesn't play with a Roscommon.
Did he not transfer to Roscommon
No,
club?
he plays with Listowel Emmets.
Oh, what?
Plays with Listowel.
Okay. Listowel, I thought he transferred to Aero.
No. Plays with Listowel.
All right. Okay, I'm wrapping
Hold
out.
on a second. Do we get the mark for that?
No.
Come on now. What's going on here? Right.
Yeah, sorry, I can only take the answer here, which is
That's wrong.
which is the incorrect one. Aero. Look, we'll see what it's like. You're ahead for now, right? Question 2 to team 1. What club does Niall Scully play for? Come on, Kay.
He's not very good. Temple Oak.
Temple Oak, Sing Street, yeah. 2-2. What club, question 2 for team 2, what club does Owen Merchant play for?
They're tough questions.
Oh, it is, yeah. Is it?
Lads, don't shout the answers, or I'll burst you.
Should we just call it? Yeah, Nafina.
I'll get Jad to burst you.
Nafina.
Nafina, yeah. Now don't be messing now. That was given away. Okay, question 3 to team 1. What club does David Clifford play for?
They're just waiting for an answer from the audience. It's time, ref.
I know it's a junior club beside Killarney, and I can't think of the name of it.
Begins with an F.
Come on.
Fossa.
Okay, fair play. Okay. Question 3 for team 2, which I've just realised is a ridiculous question, so I'm going to have to think of one on the spot.
What was the question? Just
It's what the club does Sean O'Shea play for in Europe? Okay, so let me think of a club, and let me think of a player. What club does Conor McManus play for?
Clontarf, yeah.
Correct answer. Okay, what's the score, everyone? I think
level.
Galway are 1 up.
No, it's level.
Galway are 1 up, but you've got a great chance to get back. You get back in this section. It's a draw with Fossa, so it's a draw. But this Aerogue Listowel one might come back to haunt me. Okay, round 3 is name that team round. So you're going to have 20 seconds to name as many players from the following All-Ireland winning teams as you can. Right? This is a lot harder than it sounds. Right? So team 1, you have 20 seconds. The clock will start when I call out the team you have to name, and I'll count them. Right? So you have 20 seconds to name as many of the Cork winning All-Ireland team in 2010. Go.
O'Neill.
Full names, guys.
Kinsella.
O'Connor. Walsh.
Paddy Kelly.
Paddy Kenny?
Kelly.
Kelly, Paddy Kelly, yeah.
Nicholas Murphy.
Shields. Michael Shields.
Michael Shields.
O'Connor, the cornerback.
No, there was no O'Connell. Time's up. Okay, time's up. I'll give you Graham Canty, even though he didn't start, but he came on as a sub. So you have Canty, you have Shields, you have Aidan Walsh, you have Pearse O'Neill, you have Paddy Kelly, and you have Donncha O'Connor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, 6 is to beat. So there's 6.
Starting team, yeah?
6 in the lead. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So I've given him Canty. So it doesn't have to be the starting team.
What's our team?
Okay. So team 2, name that team round. So we want you to name as many of the Donegal team that won the All-Ireland in 2012.
McHugh, Murphy, McClune, Kavanagh, 2 McGee's, Lacey, Durkin, Nancy, Lacey, Paul Durkin. Right. We've won anyway.